he had learned about the samurai that he knew nothing about. But does this movie even go further?
This movie goes, yes, it will take us a little bit closer to, well, more directly. Okay, The Last Samurai, which is the movie that Tom Cruise was in, was a depiction, a dramatic depiction of a historical event. When the Japanese government decided to outlaw the samurai and replace them with a modern military. Because if the feudal samurai were placed up against one of our modern military, like the American military after the Civil War, they would have been slaughtered, as we saw in the final scene. Because their swords and their meditative techniques were no match for, muskets and cannon and the other kinds of mass, methods of mass destruction that they had available. So that was a historically fairly accurate movie.
Oh,
Okay, and keep in mind that you saw what they were doing, you saw how they practiced, and you saw what they did. Okay, this is going to show us how they prepared to do all of those things. Remember that they marched to the field of battle, even though they knew they were going to get killed. All right, the samurai had to be ready to die instantly, and the way to do that is to constantly think about death. So he's going to read from the Hagakure here, and that's what we're mostly interested in, so listen closely.
The way of the samurai is found in death. Meditation on another virtue. Every day when his body and mind are at peace, we should meditate upon being ripped apart by arrows, rifles, spears, and swords, being carried away by surging waves, being thrown into the midst of a great fire, being struck by lightning, being shaken to death by a great earthquake, falling from 1,000-foot cliffs, dying of disease, or committing seppuku at the death of one's master. And every day without fail, one should consider himself as dead. This is the substance of the way of the samurai.
Okay? So in other words, the samurai, the warrior, the Zen warrior in this case, because they practice a version of Zen, is specifically concerned with practicing with practicing in meditation on death every day, constantly, continuously, because they literally were dancing with death every moment. Okay, so if you wanted to see that played out, go ahead and go out and get the movie and watch it, because it will it periodically comes on cable, and so you can watch it and see what's going on. Yes.
What is their definition of death?
Same as ours, same as the one that we're using. Absolutely.
Is the avatar died?
Yeah, yeah. The avatar is basically made, inactive, and the soul separates from them.
But so, in their way of the samurai, is it the ultimate goal is that self is honored?
It's a little more complicated than that.
Oh, so
because remember, they're looking at it from two perspectives. We've been looking at it from the more general perspective that we are going to die.
Right. Ouch.
Right. They're looking at it from the perspective of, I'm going to kill you.
Before I die.
Not even before I die. I'm just going to go out and kill all y'all. That's my job. My job is to kill people. So that changes the equation a lot. Because now I have to understand death way more than the person who just practices meditation.
Because you're going to give it?
Because I'm going to kill people. That's right. I'm going to go take their lives. And I'm going to do it in a particularly vicious and nasty way.
So you study it?
You study it. Okay? Because you know it's going to happen to you as well. Think of the consequences of this.
So why?
Because that's their job. Their job is to kill people, yes. Their job is to hack people to death with blades.
So how would you know if you are one
if you are a samurai, well, you're trained. You would be trained.
Oh, they choose.
Yeah, they choose that. Well, yes and no. They're taken from families of samurais. So they're sort of the minor nobility, but people could become a samurai if they have talent.
So the morality, we're taught not to kill each other because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So in their training, in their studying, then they get over that fact?
There is, if you take a look at the world itself, there is no morality here. Okay, the tiger does not have a moral code. It just goes and kills the zebra.
Yeah, well, it's hungry.
It's what?
Hungry.
Yes, exactly. And it kills when it wants to. It kills when it needs to, and, you know, nature is like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have greed or anything, it's the body that it's
Yep.
concerned about.
Absolutely. And that's the nature of this place. That is part of the description of this place. This place is fallen. This place is, you know, dukkha. This place is insufficient. Okay? Because of this. Because how do we survive? How do we survive as humans?
Very slow.
No, we eat other creatures.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're carnivorous, that's.
Yeah, we're carnivorous. Yeah, and we have to have meat. If we don't have meat, we really can't function. So we have to have meat. A vegetarian diet is okay for a little while, but if all you have is a vegetarian diet, pretty soon you're going to sicken and die.
Yeah, and even vegetarians, they have to kill, they have to pull the meat.
Well, they have to pull lower life forms.
They have
Yeah,
to still kill.
yeah. But we need meat. The nervous system needs meat in order to function. Okay, so from the perspective of the samurai, from the perspective of the warrior, this place is a place to test their warrior skills and their ability to meditate on death constantly. Not only to dispense death, but also with grace and equanimity to accept death. Violent, brutal, nasty death on the battlefield. Okay? So again, we're still talking about dukkha, the nature of this place from the Buddhist perspective. Yes?
But we as a human being, we kill each other too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. And in fact, if I were one of the warrior class, one of the things that I would want to make certain was that the rest of the population followed some kind of religious code that said, thou shalt not kill. I would make very certain that in the training schools that those people had, they were trained not to kill. And they were trained to be passive. Well, yeah, so I don't have to watch my back around them. So all I have to do is watch my back around other warriors. So I don't have to worry about, you know, the masses out there, because I know they've been trained. They've been, you know, they've been domesticated. They're not the wild animal that I am. All right? And so that's where we get concepts of morality. For the warrior class, there's no such thing as morality. There's only kill and be killed in a world of suffering. Okay? For those on whom they prey, there is morality. Okay? So, you know, this is all sort of tied in with everything that's here. Okay, any other questions about that? Yeah.
What was the name of those pilots that did the suicide bombing
They
in World
were
War II?
they were the kamikazes. Yes.
Okay. So they went from the samurais to the kamikazes.
Yeah, the kamikazes were a little bit different because it was a lot of the pilots who were, you know, they had to do it. They were forced to do it.
But they planned on killing a lot of people.
They did. They were perfectly willing to, you know, if they could take out a number of the enemy, they would sacrifice themselves to do it. Yeah, and so, but yeah, and it does stem from the Bushido, which is their code.
Well, even the terrorists now, the ones who sacrifice themselves, bomb, and they go into a place and take as many people as they can with them.
Yeah, mostly that is not what it appears. Mostly that is someone who has been
sort of brainwash.
Well, not even brainwashed. Mostly that is when you actually see that happen, that is a person like us who has been captured, tortured, had the vest put on them, dropped off, detonated. Okay? Yeah. They're not, what's that?
It's not by choice.
No, it's not by choice. They are people like us, non-combatants, people just hanging out, that they go snatch off the street, torture, strap the bombs on them, let them off at the target, walk away, detonate. That's what we're fighting. In fact, there's videos out there on YouTube. You can actually go watch them as they prepare. Real videos, live videos.
So they're not samurai or warriors?
No, they're not samurai or warriors. They are criminals who are using, innocent bystanders as their weapons. Okay? And that's what we're finding in most of the cases where we see it happen. Yes.
But there are some that do it for themselves.
Not that I've ever seen.
Oh, no.
Not ever.
That's what they.
That's the myth.
That's what
That's
they
that's the
depict.
PR.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
depict it like
Yeah,
that.
but
Really
exactly.
it's not.
Yeah, as if it were noble, but it's not.
Or to save their family, and that doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can be blackmailed into it, but again, it's a non-combatant. It's not somebody who would do this willingly. Yeah. So what we are seeing is the PR version of it. What is really going on is this criminal activity of abduction.
I think especially children.
Oh yeah.
Children don't want to kill.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But they have to be trained to do
Yeah, they
these
have
kinds
to
of
be
things.
trained, to
Yep.
be honest.
Okay, so other sources of things, there's an interesting yoga book. This came out in 1968 in France and then was published in English in 1971. And in the very beginning, he talks about what a yogi does. The hatha yogi wishes to acquire a body as strong as steel, healthy, free of suffering, ready for long life. He is master of his body and would vanquish death. He rejoices in the perfection of his body with its vitality and youth. He would even submit death to his own will, and after his earthly destiny is done, leave this world with one great gesture of dissolution at the hour of his choosing. Okay? So, live a long life, and when you're ready to leave, go set yourself on fire in front of the United Nations building. Basically. That's what he's talking about. Okay? Or throw yourself off of Mount Kilimanjaro, or whatever. Okay? But submit death to your own will at the hour of your own choosing. Okay, so that is in the original version of this book. And it follows along with what we're talking about here. This is the reissue of the book. It's identical in every respect, page for page, except that that one paragraph has been deleted. Okay, which I found interesting. Okay. Let's see, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. What is it? Here we go. Or take a look at the subtitle, The Great Liberation Through Hearing in the Bardo. So this is read to someone who is on the verge of dying. Okay? Hoping to liberate them as they listen to you read the text. But of course, as you read the text, you're also practicing the getting prepared for dying. I'll just read you the first little bit. This great liberation through hearing, the Bardo Ethoscroll was the name of it in Tibetan. The means of liberation in the Bardo for yogins of average capacities is in three parts: the introduction, the main subject matter, and the conclusion. Firstly, the introduction, the means of liberating human beings. First of all, one should have studied the instructions, which should certainly liberate those of the highest capacities. But if they do not, one should practice the ejection of consciousness, okay, the separation of mind and body. Meditation to separate. Now specifically they have a visualization that goes along with this practice. Ejection of consciousness is part of the Pure Land practice and one of the 6 yogas of Naropa. By means of it, the yogin learns how to shoot his consciousness up through the crown of his head into a visualized image, and at death he is able to direct it to the Dharmakaya realm. Okay, so again, they're practicing this while they're still alive, they're doing the meditation, they're doing the visualization, so that at the actual moment of dissolution, they practice it, because they know what they're doing. Yeah.
Is that what Alzheimer's is?
What Alzheimer's is?
No.
No?
In what way?
Well, your mind going, your consciousness sort of going, your mind going.
No, this
Your
is a
brain
deliberate separation of the mind, of the soul, from the avatar, using this particular visualization. What happens, remember that on the model that we're using, the consciousness that we are interfaces somewhere up here at the top of the nervous system at a quantum level, and then reads off the data and provides instructions to the avatar in this two-way flow of information. Okay? Now what happens when we have a neurological deficit, like happens in Alzheimer's, is that the actual physical avatar is no longer functioning. Okay? So we've got a major neurophysiological deficit here. And so there are memory gaps, there are emotional distresses, you know, emotional lability, it's all over the map and everything else. And so the top-down control functions are disabled, basically. And the avatar itself is now dysfunctional. And so the soul, the person who is interfaced with this particular avatar, experiences all of those dysfunctions. Okay, and loses control of the avatar. Okay, now what would the warrior do?
Kill himself.
Yes, before that happened, before they lost control, total control, they would disable the avatar and affect the separation. Okay, rather than lose everything, because if memory goes and if willpower goes and if all of the experiences that have been encoded in the nervous system are not taken with them and they're lost to the continuous etching away of the brain that happens in these kinds of diseases, then this entire incarnation was wasted. Okay, so
So where does the soul go then?
the soul doesn't go anywhere. It exists in a separate dimension. Yeah, it is completely separate, totally different, totally distinct. It exists and has its being in a separate dimension, the world of the ideas, the world of the forms, the world of quantum whatever, okay, to use the new one. And so it always exists there. It just appears because of the interface that it exists here. Okay, it doesn't go anywhere. This avatar simply ceases to function. There's no longer a place of interface, and then the soul is just left where it is, without an avatar to interface with the extended universe for a time. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah.
Just that there are some people that they say they died and come back.
Yeah, near-death
and they saw
experience.
the other world.
Yeah, because what they experience is, and we'll see descriptions from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, other kinds of material about the experience that the soul has during the dissolution phase of the nervous system of the avatar. Bright lights, experiences of tunnels, experiences of moving and things like that, okay, which are pretty common as the nervous system itself begins to dissolve, and as the life force leaves it, and as the soul itself vacates and stops the interface. So those are all kinds of things that we experience. And they're pretty consistent from epoch to epoch, culture to culture. Okay, so does that answer your question? Again, the meditation will take you there. The meditation will put you there so that you will know. It will not be a matter of conjecture or speculation or belief or anything like that. You will actually be there. And then you'll come back and you'll practice that again and again and again and again until you become very, very adept at coming and going and moving around and, interfacing with everything you need. Yeah, exactly. It's all the same practice. It's all the same thing. Regardless of who we look at, to describe this process, it's all the same thing. So when the death actually does come, however it comes, we will theoretically be ready for it. Okay, because we've already practiced it over and over and over and over and over again until it's second nature. Like Socrates said, I know it like I know the streets of Athens. Because I've been there. I've been all over the place. And it was easy for me to just affect it, because of the training. Okay? And finally, if you need something really gruesome for bedtime reading, okay, this is Dr. Newland's book, came out in 1993, How We Die. He gives clinical descriptions of various ways of dying. I can't remember what he gives us. Let's see. He describes the strangled heart, Alzheimer's disease, murder, accident, suicide, euthanasia, death from AIDS, cancer, and so if you wanted to practice a modern form of the cemetery contemplations, this book would be a good place to start.
Well, you describe the physical.
Yes, he describes the physical. He describes, and also what it would feel like from the inside, because he's a surgeon. He's watched people do that. He's had them talk to him and tell him what it is.
Oh, so
Okay,
as
so
they're dying.
as they're dying, he's
recording.
yes, and he's seen a lot of this kind of stuff. He's also, if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I've read it, but I think he was a battlefield surgeon as well. Okay, so he's seen a lot of that stuff. Okay, so so these, and keep in mind that sooner or later, unless, you know, the transhumanists manage to somehow create this cybernetic device that we can all interface with and, you know, won't have to experience the dissolution of this particular avatar, and if they're willing to share it with us, which is a big if, unless those two things happen, this thing will die. Okay? And in the modern era, it will die a particularly complicated, painful, and slow death, rather than the swift death of the samurai warrior, which, even though it's violent and bloody, is very, very fast. Okay? And we will undergo a lot more pain than they did. Yeah?
But we can see from all of these new inventions, like heart transplant,
Exactly.
like, you know, everything that we see, the human being is making it possible.
Yes.
Maybe someday we are not going to die at all.
I cannot imagine a worse fate. Yeah, I cannot imagine.
They just, you know, if your heart is bad, they get your cell and blow it and
Absolutely,
put it back in
and then put it back in. Yep, I cannot imagine a worse situation on this planet than to have that come to pass. And they've already got the technology. Okay? Dick Cheney is walking around right now with a replacement heart. For almost 2 years, he was on a heart machine, a heart pump. Okay?
Yes, it's the kidney.
Yep.
It's the liver.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, the internal organs
everything,
fail.
and
Yeah, but again, I would not stay around. Me myself would not hang around in a society that does that. Just wouldn't do it.
But it will happen.
Oh, it's definitely going to happen, but it will not happen for us.
No.
Yeah, not
Maybe.
because not because it's happening in the future. It won't happen for us because
We've already died.
no, because
Death is not to be feared.
no, because we are not part of the ruling class.
Uh-oh.
I guarantee you that if they have that technology, they will not share it with
There
us.
you go. Okay.
Guaranteed. Okay?
But because we die,
Mhm.
it's kind of, I don't know how to say this, we're built in with an expiration date.
This is, the avatar is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't die. Keep that in mind. We do not die. We are immortal. Yeah.
So even if we create something or we're going into that dream, which will make us God, actually.
Yes, already. We are already
I
dying.
just thought of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
Is this world, God, you want to stay here forever?
No, again, this world is the fallen world, the world of suffering and pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do we want to hang out? And it gets even more complicated here in just a second. Okay, basically there are two Buddhist paths, the Theravada, which is the older one, the teaching of the elders, and the Mahayana, which is the great vehicle. And the way of the Bodhisattva is one of the classic texts from the 7th century CE that describes this process of learning how to practice these meditative techniques for the sake of everybody. Okay? If we are living in a fallen world filled with suffering and pain, we want to leave it, and we also want to take with us everyone else so that they don't have to continue suffering. And the way of the Bodhisattva is the way that we learn how to do that. Okay? There are two specific kinds of meditative practices, equalizing self and others and exchanging self and others, and there's the verse references if you wanted to take a look at it. Okay? And if I have time between now and next class, I'll actually put a copy out of those particular verses. Okay? This leads to the vision of sorrow. The vision of sorrow is an important element in the meditative journey, because at some point you will, after you practice these meditative techniques here, exchanging and equalizing self with others, you will recognize that what is happening to the people in Syria is happening to us. Okay? What is happening to the people in Africa is happening to us, to me. You'll actually feel it. It is very striking, and it is distressing when you have the vision of sorrow. Okay? And it can last for weeks. Yes. And I don't necessarily mean in a physical sense, although that is also true. I mean, we share in the suffering. We feel their pain. The poor President Clinton.
Is that why though when somebody that's mentally deranged kills all their children and all their family because they think they'd be better off going, dead with
Him? That is,
right?
yeah, that is one of the things that happens. Okay, and we'll see in just a second. We'll pick that train of thought up. So there are 4 bodhisattva vows. Okay, bodhi means enlightened, sattva with 2 T's means existence, so living an enlightened life. Or sattva with 1 T means heroic-minded one who is pursuing the path of enlightenment. So either way, it's spelled both ways. Now there are 4 vows that they take. This is the classical Buddhist vows. I vow to become enlightened for the sake of all living beings. I will cut the roots of all delusive passions. I will penetrate the farthest gate of Dharma. Dharma is the teaching. And I will realize the supreme way of Buddha. So that's the classical way that they put it. Here's the Zen version of those same 4 vows. Although sentient beings are innumerable, we vow to save them. We vow to save them all. Although our evil desires are limitless, we vow to be rid of them. Although the teaching is limitless, we vow to learn it all. And although Buddhism is unattainable, we vow to attain it. So these are all impossible kinds of goals. All right? And that comes from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Let's see here. Okay? Which is a modern text. Okay? So the Buddhist is saying everybody suffers here in this place, and we need to learn the meditative practice in order to save everybody. That's the basic idea. Now the Gnostics, we're going to take a look at a Mandaean source here, the only Gnostic sect to survive to the present day. Currently that sect is located in the lower Euphrates area of modern Iraq. Manda is the Aramaic word for knowledge, so Mandaean and Gnostic are exactly the same thing, just 2 different languages. John the Baptist was a Mandaean prophet. So John 14:6 is a Gnostic text. Okay? John the Baptist is their version of Jesus Christ. Okay, and this is the book. This is the book that contains the interpretations and the texts for what comes here. So the real world is transmundane and supercelestial. That is the real world, the place where we came from. Transmundane and supercelestial has no relationship to this at all. It is the world of light versus the world of darkness, which is this place. This world is the creation of insane demigods, who in a fit of jealous rage created a prison environment into which they threw the godlike souls of men, us. Okay? The prison is a multi-level concatenation of physical material between men and the real world, physically separating us from the real dimension where we came from. Traditionally, there are 7 levels corresponding to the 7 planetary bodies of ancient astronomy and the 7 archons who rule in their cosmic spheres. Okay, so the 7 planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon in that order. And then the archons, Yaldabaoth, Ea, Sabaoth, Adonaios, Eloeus, Orius, and Aristophanes. Those are the names of the gods who rule the planets. the archons, the demigods, the crazy ones who built this place. As the soul travels downward through the 7 levels from the place where we originated, it accumulates the influences from each of the 7 planetary bodies, acquiring the influences if it were a garment, like a set of clothing. Astrology is the geometric science of measuring the trajectory of the soul on its path and then combining the influences based on the relative positions of the 7 planetary bodies at the moment of birth. So that's the theory behind astrology. Since we have to descend through the 7 spheres and pick up all of those influences, depending on where they are, it's going to change our personality here. So that's where this comes from. That's a depiction of it. That's what it looks like. So the real world is up here. And we descend through all of these places until we're locked in this prison place here. Okay? This is from a drawing by Peter Apian, who was a German astronomer. 1524. He was also an alchemist, obviously. Gnostic cosmology. The world of darkness, our extended world, is composed of the 7 planetary bodies in the earth. The super-celestial region is called the Ogdoad. Greek Ogdoas, the eightfold. Okay? So this ties in with the Noble Eightfold Path and the 8 meditative absorptions. All right, the absorptions equal the return journey. As we practice the meditative absorptions, we are returning back to the place where we originally came from. 8 stages of it. So that we just go back to the same levels that we descended in reverse order until finally we reach that 8th level, which is beyond the realm of this horrible place, and we're back where we should be, where we started from. Okay, so the return journey is 7 planetary bodies plus 1 more meditative absorption to get back to where we belong. All right, so the demigods, who are called the archons, continuously create a situation of deceit and deception, which distracts the souls of men from their true nature and prevents their natural return to the real world. The souls of men are thrown down from the real world into this prison in an act of unimaginable violence, where they sleep in a matter-induced coma. All right? The creator of the real world, known as the Father in the Mandaean text, and the Gnostic text in general, recognizing that the souls of men cannot by themselves return to the real world, sends his messenger to remind them of their true nature. John the Baptist was the messenger for the Mandaeans, Jesus Christ for the Christians, okay, the Buddha for the Buddhists. Alrighty, so that's, if we take a look at John 14, that is the call of the messenger. That is the call to us to remind us that we are not supposed to be here in this prison. We've been kidnapped and stuck here against our will, and we need to remember who and what we are. This world of darkness will continue to exist into infinity until the last of the souls of men have been freed from this prison and returned to their proper dimension. So psychopaths who kill their families are doing them a favor. They're not only doing them a favor, they're doing us a favor. Okay? Someone who were to actually get us involved in a nuclear war and kill all of us would free us from this prison, and we could go back home. That's what they're telling us. This is the warrior spirit. It doesn't matter that I will kill and be killed, because every avatar that I kill, and every time my avatars are killed, we're working for the freedom of the entire human species from this horrible place where we have been imprisoned against our will. So that's where all of this comes from. It is very ancient and very well practiced. Okay? Agape is the Greek word agape. Love, especially the selfless, unconditional love of God and Christ for mankind, and our reciprocal love for them and for each other. Okay? Celibacy so that additional souls are not imprisoned. Well, no, because this is a deliberate act. A person who practices that would say, I am doing that because I don't want to imprison another soul here. I'm not going to create an avatar prison. I'm just not going to do it. Both men and women would say that if they were following this particular Gnostic path, the Mandaean path. Okay? So that's why the celibacy was there for them. Sacrifice through martyrdom in order to collapse the projection of the fallen world. Because as soon as we're all gone from here, it will collapse and vanish into the nothingness. Okay? So it's the Greek, martyr is from the Greek word martyros, which means witness. All right? The methods of execution which they normally met were stoning, crucifixion, and burning at the stake. all of which the martyrs believed was a baptism of blood, which would allow them to escape from this place, go back home, and would also benefit everybody who remained by, deconstructing the prison. All right? St. Stephen was the very first of them, stoned in about 35 CE, and then we had a famous Gnostic, Mani, the founder of the Manichaean sect, who was crucified in 276. So again, we find people who are willing to actually go through this, actually go through the actual horrible fate of a martyr, because of their belief that this place is so fallen and it needs to be destroyed. All right, yeah.
So, does Hitler thought about the same thing?
Yes. In fact, if we take a look at some of the occult traditions that Hitler and other people like Hitler, people who are in charge of the planet today, follow, they're thinking along the same lines.
But they are saving some.
They are staying, from that perspective, they would reduce the population down to a minimum amount, and then just hang out as sort of caretakers over the now basically useless prison facility here. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, now, they send a messenger saying to remind us that this is a prison,
To remind us who we are, that we shouldn't be in prison.
that we shouldn't be.
That, right, that what, we should not hang out here at all because we have been kidnapped and we should head back. We should practice the meditative techniques so that we can go back home.
So there's where it gets a little tricky. Okay. The fastest way to get out of this prison, it sounds to me, is to kill yourself and take off.
That's what I'm saying.
And people have done that. In 1963, there was a 63-year-old Buddhist monk who was the head abbot of his Buddhist temple in South Vietnam. Okay, and we had installed, our government had installed a really repressive and nasty dictator over there, who were the Yen brothers, and they were persecuting the Buddhists. So he marched down to the town square, he poured gasoline over himself, and he set himself on fire. You can actually see that video, because there was a photographer there videotaping. And you can watch him sit down in a lotus posture, they pour the gas on him, he lights the match, and he sets himself on fire. And he burns there for almost 17 minutes without twitching. So yes, absolutely. If you have practiced the meditative discipline to that point, you can leave whenever you like.
Yeah, but the avatar's not going to do it. We have a strong sense of survival.
The avatar does not have that strong sense of survival.
So
We
it's the self
supply
that
that,
is.
yes.
We self-supply.
Because we identify with this and we don't want to die.
And we don't want pain, no. it
Exactly. We
hurts.
don't want pain or anything else. Yeah, the avatar itself,
So we keep ourselves in prison?
yes, we keep ourselves in prison because we're afraid of recognizing the actual nature of reality. Basically. So yes, your point is well taken, and there are practitioners today who actually will set themselves on fire or do some other kinds of things. Remember what the book on yoga said. Leave this world with one great gesture of dissolution at the hour of our choosing. That demonstrates the mastery.
But as a society, okay, especially merciful, to get to the point that I cannot take pain anymore, and I choose to leave. But my church tells me no. The doctor says they won't do it. And so even though if I say so, society, the world is saying no, I should be kept in this prison.
Well, no. What society is saying in that case is, it's not up to me to help you leave.
Ah.
Okay, if you want to leave, by all means, go for it. Okay, but I don't want to help you leave.
Oh,
Because I could be making an error. You could be making an error.
that's true.
You may
Yeah,
not
that
read it,
happens.
all of those things, right? So I don't want to help you leave, unless of course I'm one of the samurai. In which case I would more than happily help you leave.
That's the great sin, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the way that Dr.
Oh, Kevorkian was just this evil, nasty, vicious psychopath. He liked to watch people suffer. It had nothing to do with helping them. He is, just look at him. Look at his art. Take a look at him. He is an absolute vicious and nasty, evil person. Total psychopath. He would just experiment on people. He just wanted to have people come to him so he could literally watch them as they suffered and died. It had nothing to do with humanitarian, assistance to them.
He used some type of medication.
Oh, he didn't. He used all different kinds of things, trying to make certain that they would suffer as long as they possibly could so he could watch and basically, suck their soul out of them. Go take a look at the actual record. Go look at his paintings. He is an absolute vicious, nasty, evil, just demonic kind of a person. I can't even describe how bad he is. How bad he was. He's dead.
He only, some of the kids that offered to help.
No, he didn't help. He tortured those people to death. He found people who were psychologically vulnerable, and he tortured them to death for his own benefit, for his own pleasure. Again, don't believe the PR. Go take a look at the actual record. You take a look at his paintings, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Yeah, those are strict.
Oh, geez, he is just a, ugh. Yeah, I mean, we're talking nasty, vicious, yeah. Okay?
It is legal now in Oregon.
Yes, it's legal in Oregon and a couple of other states. Yep.
Not sure I want to go see it.
Yeah, they're disturbing. And you'll see what I mean if you go take a look at them. They're online. You can go take a look at
I
them.
don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, yeah. If you want to take a look at a psychopath, that's one of them. A psychopath masquerading as a doctor.
Okay, now here's where I guess we'll also get looking.
See you, Betty.
Okay, we got self. And then we go to the surgeon or that we get with the avatar.
Mhm.
That can create neurosis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is self good and evil at the same time?
No, self is neither good nor evil. Self is God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Good and evil are characteristics that apply here in the world of self.
Here, so
Yeah.
like you were saying about the doctor, the way he is,
Yeah.
evil was created as he came into the prison?
The whole thing is evil.
Ah.
All of this is the
It's
result of
evil.
an evil intent by insane demigods, according to the Mandaeans.
And then,
Okay.
oh,
Remember, they're updating the Buddha's doctrine of dukkha. The Buddha was just saying this place, by its design, is dangerous for us.
it's a doo-doo.
So we should leave. Okay. What they're saying is it's worse than that. And this is an actual, intelligently designed prison, designed by intelligent demigods who designed it specifically to hurt us, because they like to hurt us. They get off on hurting us.
And there's where the,
Exactly. And so the whole place is based upon an evil intent, to separate us from the true divine nature where we should be, to imprison us, to deceive us, to torture us. And so what we find from the Mandaean viewpoint is not all the Gnostics are taking this radical stand, but the Mandaeans are the ones who are actually out there the farthest and putting it out there and saying, this place is not just suffering is not here. This is intentionally evil. Okay, which is a Zoroastrian idea, which goes back to about the 1800s or further in ancient Persia, 1800 BC, BCE, where they were the first that we know of to actually postulate that there are these two, completely separate kinds of activities, and one of them is evil, deliberately evil, and the other is, divine. And so now the Gnostics, the Mandaeans, are taking that idea, and they are saying, and we're in the middle of this really evil place, deliberately evil.
so they trap the light.
Yeah, they trapped the light. They took the light and us, the light of our souls, and literally kidnapped us and then stuck us in this prison made of matter.
So.
And then they torture us. They torture us. They torture the avatar. They torture it continuously. We're constantly being tortured by, pain and suffering and disease and war and famine and all these other things that torture human beings. And they like it. They feed on that energy. according to the Mandaean myth.
So the people that believe in reincarnation, why would they want to come back? I mean, this is the evil
They don't
state.
want to come back. They're forced to come back because they haven't practiced
Something.
the technique, the meditation, to where they can actually get away. They're literally, you know, their avatar dissolves, and since they haven't practiced all of this stuff, since they are still ignorant of the true nature of things, of their true nature, what happens is that the archons are waiting, and they pick them up and stuff them in another avatar without giving them an opportunity to leave. Okay? And so, in some of the versions, like for example in the Poimander, which is a Greek text, an Egyptian Greek text, they talk about the only way we can get past the archons is if we study, meditate, and know the passwords, know the words of power. So when you approach each of the 7 archons, you just basically say the password and the word of power, and they are forced to let you go past. So you have to practice, you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, the archons, being the evil demigods, you know, that are insane and hate, will not let you leave. They'll grab you and stuff you back in another avatar and torture you. So that's their description of what happens in reincarnation. So from the Buddhist perspective and the 8 meditative absorptions, once you have practiced that all the way through, the archons can't stop you.
So the people
Well,
that-
you'll know, you'll have already gone there, and you can go there anytime you want, and they will not be able to stop you because they don't have the power to stop you. The only reason they can stop one of these souls is because the soul doesn't realize that it's powerful, and so it's ignorant and it's, you know, stunned basically. This word permeates the texts. We're stunned. We're in a coma. And so the avatar dissolves. This soul that doesn't recognize that it's godlike and has all of these abilities, you know, is still stunned and in a coma. And so the archon, whichever one it is happens to be around, reaches out, snatches it, tosses it into another avatar, and then continues to torture it. And it continues to remain in that state of ignorance because it's still being victimized. It's still being tortured and hurt and harmed and kept ignorant and in a coma.
So that's what, I don't know if you know, Denaro, who is a priest, he would say, wake up.
Mhm.
And that's
Wake
what
up.
he's talking about.
Yeah, that's what they're all talking about. Yeah, wake up to what you really are, and then begin to practice the techniques that will train you to go back to where we should be. And then once we've all learned that, this place will just dissolve, and we'll be able to move off to wherever, you know, whatever awaits us in the future. Okay, so that's your classical Buddhist and Mandaean Gnostic soteriology. Yeah.
So at the moment of death,
Mhm.
okay, let's say that the person has been saying, I'm not ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take me yet. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, I heard somebody say this.
Okay.
And then, a few hours before he died, he says, please take me. But now, has he gone through a meditative state that none of the rest of us know, or what has happened?
No, what's happened from the accounts is that there are other disembodied souls and possibly non-human entities, okay, that have come to greet him. So he or she is now far enough away from the avatar's influence that they can actually perceive these other entities, whether disembodied humans or other kinds of entities. And they are there helping and assisting it to leave. And we find that a lot, especially in the near-death experience, as well as descriptions of people at bedsides of, like you, see that. You know, they don't want to leave, but finally they're now, the avatar has ceased to function enough that they're free of its influence and they can move on and see these other, perceive, you know.
They're free of the influence.
Exactly, they're free of the influence of the avatar. So it's not necessarily because they've practiced any meditative techniques, it's
Okay.
simply because the avatar is no longer functioning
Okay.
at enough of a level to keep them trapped here. Okay? If they had practiced the meditation, people who do practice the meditation will simply leave. You know, at the moment of dissolution, they'll know what to do because they've already been there, so to speak. And so you won't find them saying, you know, I'm not ready to go. If the avatar is actually at the point of death. Okay, and when it does, I mean, we notice this when we get you know, when we get sick, there are some times when we can actually think more clearly than we can otherwise. Because the influence of the avatar is diminished. Because it is busy fighting off whatever's causing that. So we can begin to perceive this. In fact, the Buddha, you know, according to legend, had been practicing meditation for about 6 years and had decided that he was going to, you know, finish the job, either because he was going to die or because he would become enlightened fully. And so for like 6 days, he didn't eat or drink or anything, so the avatar itself was pretty much out of it. And that's when he achieved his enlightenment, because the avatar's influence was so diminished that he could actually go out and do these things. Yeah.
So, in some respect, we can say this is the hell that we are living in.
Yes, this is, yeah, exactly. And the Gnostics, especially, you know, the Mandaeans, but all the Gnostics in general, and the Buddhists, and, you know, the Greeks to a certain extent, and the Egyptians, and, you know, Tibetans, and everybody else is saying this place has hellish features. Okay, dog eat dog, law of the jungle, viciousness, nastiness, torture, you know, all these kinds of things that we can point to. And so, yeah, this is hell.
Some place that we have to pass those 7
Yeah, pass the 7 archons, escape their influence, and go back home, basically, is what the Mandaean text is telling us. And it's the same thing that the Buddhist was telling us, you know. This place is, it is the source of suffering, and so it's the source of the matrix of suffering, and so we need to learn how to leave it. And the reason why he stressed the greater vehicle, the Mahayana path, was because it's really hard for us to just, you know, abandon everybody that we love and say, you know, bye, I'm out of here, goodbye, and we'll never see them again. We would much rather hang out with them, even putting up with all the torture that we have to, because we love them and we, you know, we want to hang out with them, our friends, our relatives, you know, wives and husbands and kids. So that's why the Buddha came back and taught for 50 years, because he wanted to make certain that when he left, they could go with him. So that's why the Mahayana path was created. We're not gonna leave until all of us can leave. Okay? Because it's really hard to leave people that we love and know that they're still here suffering, and we're off safe. That's kind of
But will we see them again?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of descriptions of that kind of stuff going on. Yeah. A lot of it is popularized, you know, but there's enough of the trend line throughout the descriptions from way back when until present to indicate that that happens. And in the meditative state, you know, once you've reached about the 3rd meditative absorption, you'll begin to get all of these kinds of psychic experiences and kind of things. The Buddha said, please ignore them, okay, because they're kind of, it's not that they're dangerous, it's just that they're really hard to sort of process because there's so much data coming in. So get past that first, and then if you want to explore it, go back. This is where all of the descriptions of the astral world and, you know, all those things from theosophy and all that kind of stuff coming from the New Age is coming from. Like that 3rd meditative absorption where you get access to all of those kinds of dimensional places. And it is weird. It's a very strange place to hang out. Once you've been there, and you have been there. I mean, you know, sometimes we end up there in our dreams. And it's weird. It's not a normal dream. It's a kind of weird dream. Yeah, I mean, we've all had that. So, you know what I'm talking about. And so all of those kinds of things, you know, that appear in the literature from the beginning to now indicate that there is a place there, certainly, with all these disembodied humans and all of these other kinds of entities that some are good, some are malevolent, some are indifferent to us, you know, multiple dimensions to explore. So it's all out there. We can go hang out there anytime we like.
But the way that I think about it is then Buddha and other one, they can be good samurai because they believe in going up, and samurai are bad.
No, the samurai are simply, they are simply taking, I mean, from a very practical perspective, if I were to kill every avatar in this room, I could not do any damage to the actual souls on this model. Okay? I mean, since the soul is immortal, you know, the avatar is just sort of this temporary transportation device. Okay? To kill it doesn't really do any damage to the soul itself. And so what they're saying is we need to recognize that fact. And just, and now we move into the realm of what Nietzsche would call this, you know, this, the transvaluation of values. There's no such thing as good and evil. Those are creations of human society, and what we have is just what is real and what is not. Okay? So,
It makes it more difficult to get to that place.
No.
You would think
oh no, yeah, it doesn't, yeah, absolutely not. Because the samurai, the ones who actually practiced the meditation and everything, they were able to go there a lot. But they did, I mean, they literally became, they were almost, from a normal person's perspective, they would almost be psychopathic. Because they had no respect for, you know, physical avatars. They just didn't. And so they were, you know, they were warriors. They were killers. That's exactly what they were. So, but from the larger perspective, of course, where they are. If we take a look at like famous samurai, for example, the most famous would be Miyamoto Musashi, who is undoubtedly the greatest samurai swordsman ever, just undefeated. He finally grew tired of it. I mean, he was, you know, he was about, I think 43 or 45, I can't remember how old he was, but he had been challenged to so many duels that he was really tired after he defended himself. So what he did was, you know, he grew his hair out long, grew his beard and everything. He never took a bath. Okay, so he was just this scroungy, ugly, mangy-looking person. So hopefully people would leave him alone and not know who he was and not want to get near him because he stank so badly. That was one of the things that he did. But he then turned his attention to perfecting his meditative technique rather than his combat, martial technique. And wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is his description of, you know, what he found as he went beyond, you know, as he went further than just the martial aspects of the meditative practice. So, but he had to remember that you must understand the level of discipline over the avatar that the warrior has. A level of discipline that we need to have, even if we're not going to be a samurai warrior. We need to have the same level of discipline and control over this avatar that they do, even if we're not going to engage in combat. That's one of the things that we need to recognize. We need that level of discipline. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. The level of discipline that we're permitted to set ourselves on fire or, you know, cut ourselves open. That's, I mean, that's a high level of discipline. Okay? All right. So we'll basically pick up here when we come back next week. All right. Anything else? We're way over time, but that's okay.
Interesting, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Yeah.
I have a question about CE instead of BC.
CE is Common Era, so that's 80. BCE is before the Common Era, and it is a convention that, and AD, it's exactly the same time frame that they're describing. It's just that, for some reason, in the mid-80s, scholars the world wide decided that in their scholarly journals and papers and books, they would begin to talk about. Yeah, and that's because, yeah, it was right around 1980. You'll start to see the shift. Now, there are still some scholars who use the old AD.
So it's a scholarly approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, and it goes back, I mean, we can trace it. They started to do it way back in like the 1600s, 17th century, but it never did really catch on until the 1980s, and then all of a sudden, worldwide, they also...
When I was talking to you, said, well, that's, you know, why is it
Yeah, that's why, because conventionally, all across the world, everybody who's writing is now sort of using that convention. And I'm not even sure why they
But the
adopted.
years are basically the same.
They're identical.
BC and AD.
Yeah, 1980 AD is the same as 1980 CE. Yeah, there's no conversion or anything, just the difference.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
You want?
Wasn't that basically
I thank you for your word blockage. I knew what the answer to my problem was before I walked in. I knew what I was blocking.
Suicide is morally wrong. Yes, I mean,
It flashed the time. I was in
suicide
another class one time
for-
where somebody said
to escape
we were supposed to share our most.
the
bird or
karma.
something like that.
of the world.
well, of our particular destiny here, okay, is not permitted, even if you practice the techniques and even if you could do it successfully. Okay, but a magnificent, dramatic display of the technique and everything else in order to accomplish something for the sake of other persons, okay, that is permitted. Because what happened as a result of this massive display that was caught on film and that was written about by journalists all over the country is that the United States government sent their Central Intelligence Agency assassins over there, murdered the two Diem brothers that they had put into power 3 years earlier, and put in a new dictator who was much more lenient towards the Buddhist population. So it accomplished the goal that he set out to accomplish, namely, because these guys were going out and they were burning the monasteries, they were stealing their money, they were killing the monks. You know, they were being nasty and vicious.
Hi, did you say that
So,
room at 1
Anyway,
o'clock?
so
is
he
too
said we need to call attention to this, and this is the way we're
Okay,
going to do
somebody
it.
else is okay.
I'm going to set,
162.
one of us is going to set ourselves on
Have you ever
fire
eaten at this restaurant that's
in
right
the town
next to the
square,
building?
basically, and that we call dramatic attention to the
Okay.
plight of the Vietnamese people in general, but us in particular.
Yeah, and we're just
That's
done,
exactly
so I
what
was
it did,
gonna run
because
over there and get something.
our
to
government,
eat,
when they
but
saw
no
that
one
on the
really
front page
talked
of
to
the
so
New
far
York
as
Times,
I'm over there, so.
said, oh, we need to fix this situation because, you know,